Well,
I'll do.
I'm not going to tell you. We're just going to sit here and guess.
My mic should be coming through now.
I'll do.
I'm not going to tell you. All right.
Okay, cool.
Hello
right,
there.
in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trek Central Weekly live stream. Hopefully, you can all hear us okay and everything's going well. If not, do let us know in the chat. My mic was muted there for about 5 seconds. It's solved now. I muted it before we started and then did it again by accident. It's great. Anyway, tonight or today for some of you, because it's not like everywhere in the world, we're going to be talking about Star Trek Comic-Con at Home, CBS's presentation from last Thursday, the announcement of Star Trek Prodigy, which everyone and their dog has known about for about 6 months now, and also Star Trek Lower Decks, which airs in just over a week, no, 2 weeks away now, isn't it? Not long to go until Lower Decks actually airs, because we did get an exclusive clip and a first look at Comic-Con, which I really liked. We're going to discuss it in some greater detail later, and later this week we'll also have a video coming out discussing it in detail and what we thought of it just before we run up to the show, so keep an eye out for that. Before I do introduce our 2 special guests for today, who you already know thanks for the names on the screen and the pictures, I would like to quickly say Trek Central's team is currently looking for a video editor as well as some new writers. So if you're interested in either of those positions and think you can make a good contribution to the team, head over to our Twitter. There's a tweet about video editors. Give that a read through. It's on my account at CaptainJackYT, which is around here somewhere. Check out that and get in contact if you're interested in video editing. We'll be putting out a direct call for writers coming this week. If you are interested, sit tight or get in contact with us via Discord or email on the channel or via the website or Twitter. One of them. Tell us anyway. Send smoke signals and get in contact with us. Anyway, my special guest for today, I have Mr. Dom. How are you?
I'm doing well, yes.
Welcome back. Your image is Hugh today. That's what we've got for you.
Yes. We don't have a webcam yet.
It's right, everyone.
He'll get here
the week after next, he should have a webcam, as I think I'm going to personally deliver it at this rate. And also, I have Nick, aka Ketwolski. How are you doing? And you're drinking water out of a vase.
I'm doing great. I was just tempted to message Dom privately and tell him not to say anything when you asked about him, to make it seem like you just put our pictures up to make it seem like you weren't here by yourself. Here are my friends. Static
just
image.
Crickets in the background.
1 and 2. Yeah, exactly.
That's evil.
See, I still reckon what I was going to do, because we have that picture of Dom we're not allowed to show anyone, I was basically going to blur it out so you could just see the blurred thing in the background and keep it there. I don't think I'd be allowed to do that. Would you let me do that one, or is that too close?
No, that's too close.
What would let you?
Consequences.
What about 100k subscribers? I can reveal that one.
We'll talk about that privately.
That's a no. He doesn't want to disappoint people. So look forward to 100k coming sometime in the next millennia. Anyway, chat, love to see you here today. I see we've got a few regulars in. Thank you for turning up and arriving. Next week, our stream's going to be pretty interesting. We've got more discussion on Lower Decks. The week after that, which will be August 9th, I think, off the top of my head. Yes, August 9th. We'll be doing our first live stream of the Lower Deck reviews. I think that's going to be me, Nick, and maybe Dom, if not, someone else. But we're looking forward to that, as I can't wait for a new Star Trek series to start. So I guess that leads into our first discussion topic for today. Lower Decks. What did you all think of the extended preview we got at Comic-Con? Starting with yourself, Nick.
I enjoyed it. My thing is some people ask me what I really thought of it. I'm still reserving my judgment for an episode to actually watch an experience before I really start to be like, oh, this is going to be great, or this looks terrible. I enjoyed it. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like, oh my God, this thing is the second coming of everything. It is good. And I'm excited to see what they kind of bring to us. I was a little disappointed with some of the reactions I read online, because people, I think, maybe missed a couple of the references that they were kind of aiming at there. But overall, I thought it was really great. I am excited to see more of these characters and to really kind of experience what they've got going on. And I know some people reacted very negatively to the leg cut situation right at the end there. But I guess this is your first day of watching Star Trek, because there's always a little bit of blood and gore in Star Trek, even though it's kind of played down a little bit. But it's not, I don't know. It wasn't that big of a deal for me, but I enjoyed it.
I totally agree with you there, and I'll discuss my opinions in a minute. Before we do, though, thank you to John Will Cousin Jr. for becoming a new crewman of the Trek Central channel. Remember, guys, you can become YouTube members here on the TC channel. It's a great way of showing support for the channel and helping us out, especially when we want to do more vibrant things like travel to events. I know it's kind of off the table for this year, but hey, it's pretty good. I will touch on events towards the end of the stream regarding Star Trek Las Vegas, and there's some more discussion on that later. Dom, your opinions on the Lower Decks extended trailer, or teaser, I should say.
I really enjoyed it. But I will say I was kind of disappointed by the fact that it's basically what we saw in the trailer.
Yeah,
that scene. I think it expanded, and the whole scene I really liked. I like Romulan whiskey, even though some people are like, it has to be Romulan ale. And other references. And I like Ket said, I was fine with the leg cut. We've seen more gruesome stuff in Trek, like a person being blown up.
Whenever
and
people
aliens
say
climbing
things
out.
about violence, I always think of that scene of Riker and Picard
Yeah.
just blasting this guy into oblivion, and you see his head explode, and people are like, I can't believe they put this in Picard of someone getting obliterated. It's like, well, it's been done like 40 years ago. What do you want?
Exactly. And I will say I've enjoyed the other content we've seen from Lower Decks, like the screen caps that were released, I think, the day before.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I can't wait until we get to watch it.
I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you there. For me, at the minute, now comedy for me is like quite not a rare thing, but I like certain types of comedy, and I will admit I like the premise of Lower Decks. However, so far it's not made me actually laugh, which is a difficult thing. So I'm waiting to see the first episode until I make up my like proper thoughts on it, simply because it's not made me laugh yet. And as a comedy series, I feel like I can't properly give my review of it so far until it's made me laugh. Does that make sense to you two?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think I mentioned this a couple of discussions ago when we were talking about this, is like when I watch a show like Rick and Morty, which I know the show is constantly being compared to, which I think is unfair, but whatever. When I watch a show like Rick and Morty, like I'm not laughing usually at every single joke. And that's just me personally. I know some people I've watched that show with that laugh nonstop through every single episode for every single joke. And that's just personally, I just find it very, very entertaining. Not necessarily the most hilarious thing on the planet all the time. And I'm feeling like Lower Decks is going to be very similar, where I want to be entertained. I'm not necessarily going to laugh at every joke, but I don't want a situation where I find myself hovering over the timestamps at the bottom, trying to see like, okay, how much more of this do I have to sit through? Because I'd rather just move on to something else, which does happen sometimes, especially with streaming shows. Like sometimes they get a little boring and you're like,
it's very easy to skip through, isn't it? I mean, I've been rewatching an old TV show at the minute, and I find myself, I am very much of an arse when it comes to clicking the +10, and lately I've got so bored I've started to skip chunks of it, because it's just, it's not it's just like, I don't really like this scene, but don't worry, I can skip forward. With a live show, you can't do that, and that may be a downside of streaming. It'd be an interesting discussion of that at some point, and how that affects like watch time, etc. But I'm the worst at doing it, just skipping ahead by like ×10 or ×5. I think Netflix is ×5, Amazon is times like 10 seconds or something like that, and it's like a bit of a big jump. But yeah, regards to comedy, I hope it's like good humor, but it seems the show, we mentioned this earlier, I think you mentioned, Dom, the references are there for Trek fans. It's not just going to be a barrel of laughs. It looks like it's going to be a very enjoyable Star Trek story, and the way I've been describing it so far, it generally looks like a love letter to Star Trek The Next Generation, because you've got so many references to The Next Gen and other iterations of Star Trek. You can really tell Mike McCann is a massive fan of The Next Generation. I mean, he wrote like a book about the 8th season, if that's, what else do you need? I mean, look at all these references. We've got Bat Left, Romulan Whiskey, and we've got that image of Tawny Newsom's character, Ensign Mariner. That's the one, with like her hands doing the reference thing, which is just like that gif from the internet. And then, someone's edited it. This is the one I put in a TC chat, which we can't show you, which is quite funny, but you know the one I mean. It just looks hilarious. I'm loving it so far. Those sort of things there stick out for me, so I find that enjoyable. And already I like the sound of the captain and the first officer, the senior crew. They look like they're going to be quite funny as like serious but not so serious background characters. And I can't wait to see what they get up to. Because you like Lieutenant Shax, isn't it, Dom?
Yes. And at the panel when they were talking about him, and he's a very shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
And for a security officer, that makes sense. But I can see that coming into some situations in the show. And I just love that he's a big buff Bajoran, and most Bajorans we've seen have been like scrawny resistance fighters. So yeah, I love him.
He's built like a shit brick house. Yeah, he's. I'm very excited about that. And that's the thing is, with animation and animation comedy, it's you can play up the caricature a little bit of these people. They don't have to be so grounded. They can be a bit over the top because it's played up better inside of animation. It just works better. So yeah, I think that they're going to be a bit more fun than I think maybe we're even expecting, and they're going to be a little bit more over the top. And I'm hoping this is the issue that I'm concerned with this show is people are going to be applying the live action standards of judging Star Trek to the animated show and completely forgetting about the fact that it is actually an animated comedy show that's going to be a little over the top. And we saw a little bit of that in the teaser where one of the crew members was like getting swallowed up by this giant alien squid or something like that. And it was kind of played up for laughs or whatever. And I'm just hoping that people remember that this is an animated show. It's designed to be a little silly, and it's designed to be over the top.
To add on to that there, I feel like if we look back to the short trek, The Trouble of Edward, which was a comedy short trek, would you agree that some people or a portion of the fan base missed the buck on that one? And I don't mean to be rude by saying that, but almost missed the fact that that short trek was a comedy and wasn't meant to be taken so seriously. Do you agree with that? Because that short trek, I think you can agree, or both you can agree, was very highly discussed among our fandom, and people treated it very seriously. When I think, like, almost like how Lower Deck should be treated, it should be given a bit more leniency, as they were basically taking the piss of that short trek. The ending thing was, well, he was an idiot. I mean, no real Star Trek captain would say that in like a live action serious thing, but it was meant to be engineered as a comedy and etc. How do you guys think about that one, to build on to like what Nick just said there?
I definitely agree with that, and also going back to you talking about the comedy and not laughing at every single thing. With The Trouble of Edward, I found it funny, but I wasn't laughing at every single thing. Like, I'll still say the ending with the Tribble breakfast cereal commercial is hilarious as hell, but like, it's not meant to be serious.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll actually advertise a Tribble-based cereal.
No.
Right, and the fact that my thing was and I'm surprised that a lot of people did not really pick up on this too much, which is in my opinion, they added that Tribble cereal commercial at the end to really hit the message over the head of people of saying, do not take this seriously.
Yeah,
it's a ridiculous short that we're just having some fun with, where the Tribbles are out of control and they're like sucking them up with these Dr. Seuss vacuums or whatever it was. It was just funny. Like, it was just supposed to be this crazy off the wall kind of funny thing. And, and it is a lot to kind of deal with, you know what I mean? And even the animated shorts that they had with Ephraim and Dot, and then the girl who made the stars, I think people took both of those, including myself in some regards. I think it's hard sometimes to separate the standards that you have for reviewing content based off of live action stuff and this more fun and exciting stuff. Where I remember, like, I was making a big stink about the fact that the Dot 7 appeared to be sentient, and I'm like, so this Dot 7 is like a sentient being running around getting blown up, and it's like, well, yeah, but at the same time, though, it's not. In my mind, I really shouldn't have taken it so seriously, and because it is designed for like a younger audience, and it's just designed to be kind of funny and fun and entertaining. It's not supposed to be so serious. So I got to catch myself doing it sometimes. And that's why I say it. It's not just for other people. It's myself included. Got to really maybe not try to judge everything so daggone harshly all the time.
Do you think it might be a thing because some portions of the Trek community aren't used to variety in content? Because I think nowadays with modern Trek, we've got a variety in the shows we're watching. And this is one of CBS's aims, according to the execs who speak publicly, is to have a show for everyone. So if you want your serious and almost like dramatic Star Trek, you've got Discovery. If you want your more passionate and down-to-earth story, you've got Picard. If you want the undercover spy one, that will be Section 31. And if you want traditional Star Trek, you're going to have Strange New Worlds when that comes out. However, for the past iterations of Star Trek, when we look at Next Gen, Voyager, DS9, it's been along the same lines of serious sci-fi drama with a little bit of comedy entwined in there, a little bit of romance, etc., but only in certain episodes. Do you think it's maybe now that people aren't used to the fact we've got shows aimed at different things in a way? Do you reckon that might play into it?
Definitely.
Do you? Yeah, definitely, I do. And go ahead.
What really sells that is, I think in the DS9 documentary, Alexander Siddig says how their shows were meant to be like a McDonald's burger. They're meant to be like the same, so you can just tune in and watch it and you're getting the same thing. Whereas now, like I say, each week is like a buffet table of just different
So
stuff.
essentially, you can come along and, like, you know, take what you want. I mean, you may favor the meat section, I may favor the salad. You know, it's one of those. I might like Lower Decks, you might like Picard more, and I think that's good because it's like, I mean, Disney do a similar thing with Star Wars as well. If you just want the main story, you've got the movies. You want something extra, you've got the Mandalorian, etc. And I think that's good for a healthy community, and for franchises like Star Trek and Star Wars and various other things, it's very good because it means you can cultivate a very vibrant audience in a way, which can be good. I think there's a bigger discussion to be had here. I do see a few people in the chat. For reference, we're not discussing people about who don't understand things. We're more or less just talking about how people may not be familiar with new concepts and how they're done based on previous experiences. As we just mentioned there, a lot of Trek, when we look at obviously the original series as well, then Next Gen, Voyager and DS9, was very set into one standard and format, I'd say. DS9 pushed it being a bit more nitty gritty, I'd say. However, lately modern Trek, particularly Discovery and Picard, two very different shows. They carry the same name. However, arguably, the content and the tone and pacing is very different from each other, which is good, I think, to be. I don't know. I get bored easy of sci-fi. I wouldn't want to watch the same show just with a different set of characters. To me, that can get boring. I don't know how about you guys, but...
Well, no, I mean, and that's what their intention here is. And it's actually kind of interesting when you think about where we started, which was Discovery, and then it rolled a bit into Picard. And now we're getting Strange New Worlds, which is going to be something different as well. And the way that they've kind of teased a little bit of these more lighthearted moments started with the Trouble with Edward. And then we got the 2 animated shorts. And now we're going to roll into Lower Decks, which, I mean, I think that those earlier kind of introductory kind of things to kind of showcase some more lighthearted moments has helped set the stage a little bit for this lighthearted show like Lower Decks, and even going into the even more lighthearted show, most likely a very lighthearted show, Star Trek Prodigy, which we saw a little bit about from SDCC. So they're all kind of building on each other in some regards, to kind of like get people a little bit more accustomed to the idea of that buffet style of Star Trek, where each person has the opportunity to kind of take what they want and leave what they want. And not everything is going to be everyone's exact cup of tea, but there's going to be a little bit of something in there for everyone, and then it's going to be a bit more targeted for specific audiences based off of each show. Like Picard wasn't really designed for the average new Star Trek viewer, but there was a lot of fun things in there to entertain new Star Trek viewers, and it was also designed for old school Trek fans, and there was a lot of things in there for that. So there's a lot going on there, and we can get into all the things about how they were implemented or whatever. But they're doing a lot of interesting things with these different tones and styles throughout all of these shows, which is interesting. I find it interesting.
I totally agree with you there. So okay. We've spoken about Lower Decks there a little bit there in the extended scene. Obviously, we'll be doing a big breakdown of that coming later this week, which will break down the teaser, discuss it along with some new images and what we can expect from the show, which is due to start on Thursday, August 6th. I think it's a Thursday, isn't it? It's Thursday, yeah. Thursday, August 6th. It's not long away now. In terms of an international distributor, I do see a few people mentioning that in the chat. To watch Lower Decks, obviously you can watch it on CBS All Access in America, United States. To watch it in Canada, you use the traditional CTV Sci-Fi channel and then stream it on Crave. However, for international fans such as ourselves, or me and Dom at least, in the UK and various other countries, there's currently no word on when we can expect to watch Lower Decks. And honestly, I'm quite surprised by this. I thought they'd make a statement on this Comic-Con, but obviously it's a pre-recorded panel, so we don't know how long ago that was actually pre-recorded. That could have been done a month ago or something like that. So we don't know what was going to happen with International Lower Decks. Rumors suggest that CBS All Access might launch worldwide in August, and therefore Lower Decks will be a flagship carrier for that. However, I'm not so sure. I mean, Nick, you've obviously paid attention to what CBS has been up to recently. What do you think about the international deal and how people can watch it over here? Because obviously you'll be fine because you've got CBS All Access, but your other lovable friends are stuffed, to put it lightly. My personal gut feeling on it is I think that may have been the original plan, but with everything going on and the delays that would have caused, even for just the rollout of their CBS All Access International, my theory right now is Lower Decks full season, like all of season 1, is going to be packaged with the premiere of Discovery season 3, and then that's what's going to launch the CBS All Access International. Okay.
That's what I'm thinking, potentially. But then you get into a lot of issues with the Netflix situation and what seasons that they were actually authorized, or because there's a lot of disputes as to whether or not it was a 3-season commitment or a 5-year commitment. And there's a lot of different kinds of theories out there. And honestly, we don't really know. Anybody that sits there and tells you that they know for sure is just full of it. Nobody knows. They're keeping their cards close to the chest about this, and it is extraordinarily frustrating. And I am frustrated with it as just as much as everybody else is in that regard, because I hate it. Like, it's just, I wish we had an answer. I wish if the answer was no, it's not coming, then just say no. So that way people can stop sitting around wondering.
In suspense. I think the sad thing is going to be, and I hate to say it now, but unless there's going to be something, we allow, as soon as it turns tomorrow, we are, I'm looking at the wrong calendar, less than 2 weeks away until the launch of Lower Decks, and international fans have no word on what they can expect yet. And if the days keep counting down, I feel like it's going to look very bad. The US and Canada isn't just Star Trek's audience. Star Trek as a brand is global. So you need to communicate that in a way. And obviously we know, take Disney Plus for Mandalorian. We knew at the start when that came out, Disney Plus would only launch in the US, and I think it was the Netherlands at the time, weirdly. And that was where the Mandalorian could only be viewed. Obviously, yes, everyone just bought it and VPN'd in, as they would anyway. You can't stop people doing that. There's nothing you can do. Disney tried, they failed. Everybody VPN'd in. And I'll say, well, including myself, and I bet a few other people here, I know Tom did. So, it's one of those things there. But it's like, they need to be transparent about it. If CBS is not going to launch internationally, just say it. I mean, yes, you could argue it's bad for marketing, but at the same time, your fans need to know, essentially, is what I feel. Also, I think it's slightly disappointing for like Mike McCann, the creator, and also the cast as well, as I think they want everyone to see their new show. This could almost be detrimental to the launch of it in a way, because you're going to miss a significant part of the audience for your brand new show if something's not announced soon.
Yeah, not to mention that, and I do a lot of research into this stuff, but for Discovery in particular, and for that matter, Picard, but specifically for Discovery, the European market was the top market for Star Trek Discovery, and it still is rocking in at the top lists for Netflix, even after season 2 had already completed, and it was still in the top 10 for Netflix shows being streamed in the European market. And yes, there are sources on that. If you want them, you can go find them on my channel. But yeah, it's bizarre to me that they're limiting what is potentially a massive market, not just in terms of people, but clearly there is a desire for new Star Trek content in that market, in that demographic over there. And it's so bizarre that they're keeping such a key market in the dark for Star Trek Lower Decks. It's just very bizarre, and I don't know what they're doing. It's very weird. I don't know if there's a legal problem that they're not allowed to discuss it. It's very, very strange, because the only official thing that we have available is that they keep saying the show will be distributed internationally via Viacom CBS distributors, whatever the hell that means.
Which is a fancy way of just saying usually whenever Netflix or Amazon distribute it internationally, it is also done so by Viacom CBS. I'm pretty sure if you look at Amazon's back end, stuff like that, when Amazon Prime distribute Picard, it also has Viacom CBS tied to it legally because they have a rights holder. So them putting it there, it doesn't really mean much at the minute. It's more or less just go, we'll distribute it. We're not going to tell you when or how, but good luck.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think it's just going to be disappointing. And it's like, I don't really want a VPN in, to be honest. But, oh well. I mean, while we're on the topic here, one of the big things about international releases for me is CBS have done this with Picard and also Netflix. They always release it for the international fans like 12 hours afterwards. So, like, whereas international fans get it at midnight on Thursday, isn't it? They get it there, or in the morning, I think. UK fans have to wait till like Friday, 8 a.m. or something like that. And it's like, it's not really that fun, to be honest, because we want to watch it. And then obviously the internet, as we know over Mandalorian, etc., to use as another example, everybody knows what's happening. With the power of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, we all know what's going on before we get a chance to watch it. Hell, it's hard to avoid spoilers these days. Especially when some people put them on Twitter.
Yeah, no, it is. It's absolutely difficult to avoid the spoilers from any market that's beyond the initial one. And, and it is like it's a weird feeling, right? Like I struggle sometimes to even think about it because I'm here in the States. So we get everything first all the time with these kinds of content. So it's like, I forget about it so frequently. And then when, talking to you guys and seeing some of the people that react on my videos and stuff, and they're like, well, what about this market? What about us? Are we going to get it in South America? When are we going to get it in Argentina? When are we going to get it in the UK? What about this? And it's like, yeah, I mean, those are really great questions. And I wish I had answers. because y'all absolutely deserve answers. And I don't know. It's very weird. And hopefully they figure it out, going into Discovery season 3, because if they try to do Discovery season 3 without an international distributor, it's going to be it's going to be a bit of a disaster. I think.
mean, luckily we already know Netflix is the international distributor for Discovery, but as you said earlier, it depends how far that deal's actually going and how long it's going to last for. Because someone suggested it only lasts for 2 seasons. It wouldn't have made sense if it lasts 1. So therefore, 2 seasons would make sense. 3 would make even more sense, if you ask me, because Netflix as a outsource for content, they'd want to secure it for as long as possible because that gets them paying members, etc. However, given a season is also being pushed back slightly and delayed, I bet they're biting of a chomp. But I guess everyone can understand that. But enough about this for now. I expect we'll come back hopefully next week. We might have some news to share on the international release as we've got a whole week to go. CBS are very good at dropping stuff early on Mondays or Fridays of this week. So hopefully there might be a surprise announcement this week, and we'll see. Anyway, let's talk about Star Trek Prodigy, the brand new announced animated show coming to Nickelodeon. Now, we've known about the actual untitled, quote-unquote, animated show coming to Nickelodeon for quite a while, and if you've been paying attention to the internet, you would have known it's called Prodigy, thanks to some blatantly obvious things on the internet. Nick, why don't you discuss this one, as I know you've been doing your investigative journalism on the name of Prodigy for quite some time now. Oh. Is Nick there? Maybe his internet's given out. Damn. Okay. Dom, tell us about Prodigy in that case. What do you know about the series so far? Because you're the one who wrote the details on it.
Yes. So it was greenlit last year, and all we know about it is a description. Well, we've got a whole new logo. But description is, it'll follow a group of lawless teens who discover a derelict Starfleet ship and use it to search for adventure, meaning, and salvation.
Sounds pretty interesting, doesn't it?
Yes.
Nick says his network's cutting it out. Okay, we'll solve for next 1 minute. Also, yeah, that was some fantastic timing there. Nick, what about you? Go on, okay then. We're just going to delete that picture in a minute. So yeah, Prodigy for a kids show. Very interesting, I will say. I didn't expect Star Trek to go down the kids route. Like, we know for a while, obviously we've been leaning towards it. However, again, it brings back to the earlier conversation for a very vibrant market in a way. They're aiming for something like a buffet table, as you used to put it. They're aiming for something for everyone. So you've got your kids show, you've got your teen show, and then you've got something else, etc. Nick, are you back? Nope, he's still listening there. Anyway, basically you've got everything for everyone, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Prodigy. There's not really much.
I think I'm back now.
You're back. Sorry. Welcome back. Did you catch what I said there or not?
No, absolutely not. We're talking about Prodigy. Super excited about it. I'm just going to jump right in.
I was going to ask. I mentioned basically that if you was paying attention to the internet, you would have known it's called Prodigy for about 6 months now. I was wondering if you could tell us about that one.
Yeah, it was kind of like pseudo leaked by one of the artists who I'm not going to name because I don't want to necessarily continue to throw that particular person under the bus. I don't know if you guys already said the name or not, but yeah, it was kind of pseudo leaked on one of their websites, and we've essentially just held on to that, and we knew it was that name for forever, and it feels like a year since we figured out the name of that show. But yeah, so we've known about it for a while, and it's just great to finally have it confirmed. And I thought the logo was really cool. Like it's very bright, very vibrant, very colorful. It's even more colorful than the Lower Decks one, which seemed to be very stylized for what they're trying to go for. But this one is very exciting, very just youthful and exciting and bold colors. And yeah, I mean, I want to know more about it. I mean, it is aimed for children. I mean, that's kind of the descriptor piece there. But I mean, I'm going to watch it. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't care. I'm going to watch it anyways, regardless of what age group it's aimed at. And I'm curious to see if they're going to do kind of a pseudo Rebels or Clone Wars type thing, whereas the show progresses, it gets a little bit more mature towards the end,
That could be interesting. And as TJ said in the chat, the title was trademarked a while ago and spawned a lot of discussion. So building on to what you said there, once it was leaked on that Arts' webpage, we won't name just, we don't want anything to carry on. We've been seeing the name Prodigy pop up on quite a few other sites for quite some time now. So it just added a further confirmation that, this could be what it's called. And something did happen with it where it was like linked to Nickelodeon, and then that quickly disappeared overnight. So it's like, yeah, that's pretty much that. So we're just waiting for the official announcement at that point, which we did get. So it's good to hear that. I wish they'd given us more at Comic-Con. Obviously, it's a work in progress. We don't really know how far the animation's along, but it is set to air on Nickelodeon in 2021. that could be any time in 2021. A year is a big time, as we know from Thanks 2020. So that could be the end of the year, middle of the year. We don't know just yet. So the project, I imagine, is probably taking a bit of a slowdown. Maybe it was due to out at the start of 2021, but I imagine now probably towards the end, because animation takes a long time, a lot longer than live action, I'd say. So yeah, we're not going to be seeing that one for quite some time, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and we also don't know the animation style yet. Obviously, Lower Decks has that Rick and Morty kind of look to it, but it's completely unclear if they're going to go for what type of animation they're going to go for at all with the show.
It states on their website that it's computer-generated animation.
Yeah, CG.
And as it's from the people who've made Troll Hunters, I guess it'll be that kind of style of animation.
Could be.
Okay. So when I think computer-generated animation, to me that's vague, and maybe I just don't know enough about animation, because it's like, well, a lot of animation is computer generated.
So
Lower Decks is computer generated.
I was going to say, what's
animation.
Lower Decks in that case?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about animation.
Was computer. Well, obviously, you get different types of animation, like stop motion, etc., which you use, like Lego, for example. That's the type of animation. Right. But I thought generally these days, when we say animation, it usually means on a computer.
So I think for this, it's more 3D models instead of
3D models.
2D like art style, which
so more like what we'd see in the Clone Wars, for example.
More like Clone Wars Rebels.
Okay.
That stuff. Yeah. That
could be pretty interesting. Someone in the chat says, John asks, why is there 2 animated series? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, animation seems to be something that CBS are keen to move into, and I think it can tell a Star Trek story pretty well. I mean, it's worked for Star Wars. They've spawned, 4 animated series out now, if we count the original Clone Wars Adventures?
4, then yeah.
Yeah, 4. So it's worked for Lucasfilm and Disney. So I don't see why it couldn't work with Star Trek. I mean, it's a great way to tell it. And also, animation does capture a younger audience, though in terms of Clone Wars, also an older audience as well.
and you can do a lot more than you can do in live action.
Well, I mean, the other thing, too, is specifically in terms of Prodigy, it's supposed to be kids, younger kids who are acting in there. And my assumption is they're going to pick actors and actresses that are going to be a bit older than the actual characters on screen. And that's essentially because, historically speaking, on the regular, child actors are not so great. And if you're going to do a live action show of exclusively children actors, it's going to be challenging. You know, there's a lot to deal with that. And being able to do it animation style is, number one, you get to do a lot more with it. And number two, you get to hire slightly older actors and actresses, and you don't have to deal with the hurdles of actually working with a very young cast and doing stunts with them and worrying about, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be like a whole thing. Like, if there's going to be action, you got to worry about all of these rules and regulations because they're younger actors and stuff. So it's much easier to do it as an animated show. And I have no problem with it. I mean, it's animated. Like, who cares? Like, it's animated. I don't really understand the...
It sounds pretty interesting. Obviously, we need to learn more about it when it actually comes around, because it says it's for kids. So is it going to be accessible to fans like us, for example? Or is it going to be totally for kids? Because the Clone Wars was originally... I use that as an example, then. I hate to keep using Star Trek as Star Wars as a comparison. However, Clone Wars was originally meant for kids, but look what happened to that. So it's like, is this like going to be a cheeky way to get around it? Then again, Nickelodeon typically does stay kids, but I know like people our age who still watch SpongeBob, for Christ's sakes, and that's on Nickelodeon. So it's like, wow.
Right. Forever now, and it hasn't gotten... There's no dark, gritty reboot of SpongeBob coming for the adult
I've not
class.
seen him with an AK running around just yet, but a man can dream.
They're going to rip his eye out.
Yep. His head's going to be blown off.
Yeah, that's right. No, I, and maybe this may be a controversial statement, but I want specifically Prodigy to be something that's more towards... It's geared more towards a newer audience that doesn't have a million references, it isn't, bogged down with characters that we know and callbacks and references and Easter eggs. I feel like we're getting a lot of that specifically in Lower Decks. Like, I feel like it's going to be inundated. Every episode's going to be layered with it. I want Prodigy personally to just be something for a new, younger generation to pick up and get inspired by, and as they get older, they can start to engage and watch more Star Trek, and then kind of get introduced to the much larger universe. That's what I would like.
And I think that's something the execs have said before. I think either Heather Caden or Alex Kurtzman said that, getting kids interested in Star Trek and then moving forward, eventually they can like explore the older shows as well, like Picard, you know, Next Gen, Voyager, DS9, etc. So that could be pretty interesting to see and like get more people into it, which I think is great. More people, as I've always said before, when we get these new shows, more people having access to Star Trek, for me, I find that fantastic and I see nothing wrong with that. Star Trek is such a great franchise which can teach people a lot of interesting and key things about life and stuff in general. Having more people being able to find an accessible way to explore that is great. Because I think we can all say, when it came to like Next Gen, Voyager and DS9, that wasn't so accessible to certain audiences, I'd say. And still now, it may not be accessible because it's older as well. Unless you, like, the only way I found out about that and got into the old stuff is because a friend at school said, you need to watch this if you think you're sci-fi fans. I was like, okay then. And I went and watched Voyager and had to find my own way around. But, you know, at that time, there wasn't a show younger I could watch and get into that. Whereas Star Wars has always been that route around, if that makes sense. I was lucky enough that when I was growing up, the Clone Wars was on air, watching it, then getting into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. And that's what I hope for. That's what I'm hoping for. I hope
also,
that's,
TJ just mentioned to me, Nickelodeon is over 8 up to 17. Nick Jr. is under 8. So it's like a mid-range series like PG, or like 9 to 13. Okay, that kind of makes sense then. Could be something similar to the Clone Wars we might see then, where it's a bit more, you know...
same age range.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Interesting way they say it is like it's aimed for kids though. I mean, have CBS officially stated it is aimed for kids? Because I see a lot of publications like Deadline, etc., saying this is a kids show, but I don't think I've CBS themselves said
for
it.
a new generation of fans.
Okay, then that doesn't necessarily mean kids show. To be honest, we're presuming it's kids because it's got Nickelodeon tied to it.
Aimed at younger audiences.
Okay.
Yeah, aimed at younger audiences, and that does tie back to the big quote from Alex Kurtzman where he was kind of talking, it was like I think it was a Deadline interview, maybe in a Variety interview, but he did reference the fact that he was like, as a kid, he struggled to get into Star Trek because when he turned on The Next Generation and he was watching it, the only character on screen that was closer to his age was Wesley Crusher. And he was like, I was not interested in identifying with Wesley Crusher. So his focus is trying to change
running
that
away
up.
in the background.
Yeah, right. So he was like, well, I want to make something for a younger audience, and that's what Prodigy is. So we really don't know anything about, I mean, we have like the general description of the show. We know a little bit about like very top 10,000 foot level view of what this show's about, but we really don't know much about it. And it could really be anything at this point. And it's still like in development. I think they're probably moving forward now with actual animation, but the last like official word that we got is they just keep repeating the same lines. So who knows really what the tone is, what the feel is, what everything's actually going to be once we actually start to see stills or even footage. You know, we don't know anything about it yet. So
we've not seen anything from it or what anything looks like. So it's kind of hard to even make an assessment of like the tone of the show. Like without seeing an image at all, you can't really see what it's going to be like. Because usually when you see the animation type, think, this is a bit dark, or this is a bit, you know, it's going to be light and fluffy, etc. So it's hard to tell.
Even when we saw like the character art for Lower Decks, we still needed to see more to understand.
Exactly.
What
we only saw, what was it, the 4 characters and one shot of the bridge at the time. That wasn't really much to go on. Because then at DST last year, we saw an animation in the form of one character blinking, which is Ensign Marina. It was like, still not enough to go by. We need a trailer. God damn it, CBS.
Well, I mean, for some people, that was more than enough to say that the show was going to suck. So,
well, you know,
maybe, I know.
They just needed a name for that, to be honest. They didn't need anything else. They just needed a name.
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Moving on though, let's talk about the rest of Comic-Con. Now, obviously, unfortunately, this year's Comic-Con wasn't the big all or end all, and due to the pandemic going on around the world right now, kind of understandable, and unfortunately, it's just going to be the way it is for this year. However, we did get tidbits of information. It appears Discovery Season 3 is still a work in progress. I thought they would use the Comic-Con platform to give us an update, maybe a revised date. However, thanks to a combination of stuff, we do know a bit more about it. Basically, it's taking more time. Jeff Russo was quoted as saying it's taken up most of his time in scoring the soundtrack. So I think that's probably one thing that's holding back the series so far. Is probably the soundtrack mixed with final edits is what I'm imagining. I mean, I'm excited for Discovery, but Nick, do you think we'll see Discovery this year, or does your hunch and theories think it might get pushed to 2021?
I'm still believing that we're going to get it this year. I think I've talked about this before. I think in the oft chance that there is a real issue with finalizing the season as a whole, I think what they'll probably do is split the season between 2020 and 2021 with a mid-season break. I would be so surprised if they just stick with Lower Decks to wrap up the entirety of quarter 3 and 4 of 2020. Like that would be, I would be very surprised if they did that. I would be, I mean, just because of the information that we've got, we do know quite a bit of the editing has been finished. We do know that Jeff Russo is working a lot on the soundtrack, and they're probably doing final editings and final digital stuff here and there. But I would imagine that quite a few of the episodes are probably finished, and they're probably actively talking about exactly that. They're probably sitting there saying, well, we've got the first 5-6 episodes done. We're still cranking out these other ones. What do we do? How do we make this work? And they're probably trying to figure it out. Like they're trying to decide, like, do we do a half season? Do we wait till they're all done? What do we do here? Because you don't want to leave too much of a gap, and then you have the other shows to consider, right? And that's the other back end that would, if they break the season up, you have a little bit left over for 2020, and then you can start the year off 2021 with some more Star Trek to give, Strange New Worlds and Picard the opportunity that they need in order to get cameras rolling and to get editings, started, which they're hopefully they're trying to get that. Right, exactly, to kind of give them the opportunity to get their ball rolling, because a few of them I think are attempting to get started here shortly. From what I've heard, is Picard is trying to get started soon, and Strange New Worlds has started to do their set buildings and all that stuff like that. So they're starting to do what they can, given all the restrictions and requirements, from health code, and stuff like that, and safety and stuff. So they may be doing something like that, but I still think 2020 is a viable option at this point. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense, to be honest. I totally didn't even consider that they could split it so we could see half the season in, probably like November, December, for example, and the rest of it in January, February. That could make perfect sense. And like I say, could lead them into, Picard, etc. and various things like that. I still think there's going to be a bit of lag time in 2021 when we lap over. But hell, Prodigy could now fill that gap. They could have bumped that one up a long time ago. So we roll off of Discovery Season 3, bang, Prodigy. At that point, Picard Season 2 should be good to go out towards the end of the year. That could roll that way, because I don't think we're going to see Strange New Worlds until 2022, to be honest with you, if they're only going to start filming in the end of this year. Because I think officially, whether this is a rumor or not, but I think picking up for California filming starts in either September or August. So by the time they finish filming, it won't be until November, December, I'd imagine. That's just a theory of my own. So yeah, I don't see that happening in 2021 unless they really push to the limit. But you've got to be careful doing that, because you can't have quantity over quality, because then you get bad results.
Right. They definitely shouldn't be rushing it. That would be a disaster as all within itself, and splitting it up is definitely an option, and also, I mean, we do know from Mike McMahon's own tweets and interviews that they are actively already working on season 2 of Lower Decks, because they got their 2-season order up front, so they've rolled right into the production of the second season. And for them, and he's even said this also very publicly, that when all of the at-home self-quarantine restrictions came about, he said very publicly that it wasn't really impacting them all that much, because a lot of them were already all over the place. Right. He said it wasn't really impacting their work schedules. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually get Lower Decks season 2 faster than we may have originally gotten it. So yeah, that'll be interesting, especially depending on the fan reaction, because I have a feeling that people are actually going to like it once they actually watch the show. And yeah, and then they're going to be like, well, let's go ahead. Let's get that one out as quickly as possible to give Picard and Strange New Worlds more time to get their editing and visual stuff done. And
providing people like it, there's going to be no bad thing for releasing it, season 2 so soon afterwards, because people are going to be hungry for that content. When you like something, you want more of it now. So with streaming, you can get that. So
exactly. Yep.
I just hope the international distributor is fixed at that point. Else it's going to be not very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. We'll see what happens, though. Yeah, I'm a little worried about it, but we'll see.
So yeah, Comic-Con didn't really give us much this year in terms of like groundbreaking news. We had tidbits here and on, but Dom, you watched through most of the panels, didn't you? These were the Star Trek Universe panels.
Yes.
What did you make of them? Sort of like the table reads and the Q&As, etc. Tell us a bit about them if you can.
So, we had a table read for Star Trek Discovery where they went through the entire first act of Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2, the season finale for season 2 of Discovery. It was just really your usual table read. It was interesting because we got look at storyboards and concept art of that episode, as well as like some previs stuff.
Yeah,
that was really fascinating. And then there was a little Q&A with Discovery, but not much was said there apart from a few stuff about season 3, such as Doug Jones talking about we'll probably see some more Kelpians and how they've changed since season 2 of Discovery, because they were quite timid and now they've become these proud warriors essentially at the end of season 2, which is fascinating. And yeah, that's all we've got.
Some things are definitely, it's definitely something to think about. Like more Kelpians, that gets the theories rolling around, doesn't it? What could be going on here? Is it bad? I still find the Kelpians slightly creepy. The look, just, I don't know. I don't mind Saru, but the sister still creeps me out a little bit. I'm not sure why. Just,
I mean, at last Comic-Con when they revealed the Saru mask.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
That
oh, no.
terrifies me and still haunts my dreams.
We should get that so you can wear it on webcam. Can we buy that? How much is
I
it?
think we can still buy it.
Oh, I'm sure somebody's selling that for sure. Oh, yeah.
Find me that thing now.
We'll find it.
Someone says Dom's voice is like ASMR. Wait until you see the face. It goes together.
Really good. Should I be happy?
It's like there's a webcam around here somewhere. I'm not sure where it is. You can do the ASMR readings from now on. Dom's got a series of audiobooks coming out soon. It's called Every Video We Could Possibly Think of.
ASMR style. I love
Someone else has just said, I know Dom's voice is definitely ASMR quality. There you go. There's a job for you. Buy your own webcam.
Oh, someone's
doing it. There we go. See, having you on here really does pay for itself at the end of the day. That webcam is coming to you faster. I am going to hand deliver it. How long does it take to get to you by train?
Only a couple of hours.
I could do with a day out next week. There we go. Owen, thank you for the donation there. See? We're having you on every week now. This is great. But towards the end of the stream here, as we are going to wrap up probably within the next 10, 20 minutes, there isn't really much to talk about. Comic-Con is a bit of a slow thing. I mean, we've recapped mostly everything. We've done Prodigy, done Lower Decks, the other tidbits of information. Are we forgetting anything? I don't know if we are.
Not really. I think there was some little nuggets from Picard of just like inside things that we kind of talked about, but nothing substantial that I can remember.
A good thing to talk about. Thank you to Blue999 for the next edition of Don. We love you so much. There we go. We do have the Picard Blu-ray coming out soon, which introduces the deleted scenes, which will be pretty interesting.
That'll be interesting for the finale.
Yes, because what's interesting is we know the finale has sort of been tweaked somewhere, and Nick, you recognised this a while back. So therefore, the Narek scene was also cut, because we see images of it in the background. So we know we filmed it. So it'll be very interesting to piece together how that goes. And I believe that is out towards the end of this year. I want to say October, but I don't know off the top of my head.
It's October.
It's October, yeah. We'll get a confirmed date. It is on our YouTube community section, so Jack should just be able to load up YouTube and look at it himself. But hey, that would require common sense. Let me go and do that. The date is definitely October, I think, off the top of my head. It's coming on October 6th. There we go. So not that far away, to be honest. I think Star Wars Squadrons also comes out that day as well, so that's going to be a busy one. So we'll look out for that, and deleted scenes we'll definitely be discussing. And we've got another donation saying more. Honestly, we're bringing you here more often at this rate. Thank you to William for donating that one. Christ alive. Now we know what to do, Nick. Our next meeting's fun.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. He's the moneymaker right here.
Well,
okay.
TJ just reminded me as well, 10 stories have been broken for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. That is the quote-unquote Captain Pike series coming soon. 10 stories have been broken. Yeah. Whether that correlates to 10 episodes, we don't know just yet, but presume so. It could be 10 episodes. So that is going to be coming soon. They've not started filming just yet. Again, that relates back to an earlier discussion. That's probably going to take place towards the end of this year. A few cast people have commented that it'll start when it starts. Given the circumstances, that's understandable. The film industry as a whole is, moving and playing it year by year at this point. So we just have to sit back and wait. Unfortunately, I mean, I know the cast are really roaring to go as well. We've seen Anson, Ethan Peck, and Rebecca Romaine also talking about it. I think everyone's eager to get Strange New Worlds made and out to fans at this point. It is just such a shame it landed on this year of all years. But hey, this is why you should have announced it last year.
That's right. That's on them. They should have figured it out a long time ago to get it working.
TJ's also reminded me an Art of Discovery book comes out in September. We'll probably be doing a review on it as well. So we've got a lot of Trek content coming. One thing I did just want to touch on, which is Star Trek Las Vegas. I know a few of you like to keep up to date about that. Yep. Thank you to our buddies over at Trek Corp for tweeting this out. This is about COVID-19. As you know, the pandemic which has taken the world by storm, unfortunately. Star Trek Las Vegas at the minute. Trek Corp tweeted this out saying, we have no knowledge if STLV will be held in December, so it's still held in December at the minute. It is scheduled to go ahead, but it remains on on the calendar. If you buy tickets, please be aware there is a fine print that includes a liability waiver for COVID-19 on their webpage. If you head over to Trek's Twitter account, you can find that there. Usually I wouldn't mention this, however, it's for the safety of all Star Trek fans. You should go check it out if you're thinking of going to Las Vegas. I can't imagine we'll be seeing yourselves there. We're going to skip this year. I don't feel like going to America and catching COVID-19 in Las Vegas. That would suck quite a bit.
Okay, you UK pond
So we're
hoppers.
sending
All
you
right.
instead. You can go out for a weekend and come back.
I'm not crazy. I'm not going there to get COVID-19. What are you, nuts?
No, we're just going to cosplay you in the like vac suit. You'll be fine. You're just going to wear that all weekend.
That's a good idea.
We're gonna
I'll
get it
wear the
printed out.
Saru mask.
Oh,
that'll
fuck.
be perfect.
That's
yeah, that'll be
no
all I
one
need.
wants to come near you at that point. You'll be fine.
That's right. People are going to be staying 16 feet away from me at that point.
You're going to walk in there and the whole convention is going to empty out.
Yeah, it's going to really hurt my feelings. No one recognized me with my giant Saru mask on.
You should wear the bucket
Yeah, I
instead.
might do that.
That'd be
I don't know.
hilarious.
I'm not 100% no, but I have not purchased tickets yet, and I'm still
I'm not
on
personally
the
gonna do it.
fence about it. Yeah, I know for you guys it's a huge undertaking, and there's a lot.
It costs
more
quite a lot,
involved
you
with
know.
that.
And for like American people as well, I bet it costs quite a lot. I mean, flights aren't cheap at the minute. I get. Well, maybe they are, but still, tracking across half of America to get to Las Vegas, and place alone is pretty expensive, I imagine.
Yeah, it's very expensive, and the flights are actually not as cheap as you would imagine inside of these the inside of the states. It's definitely still very, very pricey considering that the ones flying right now, because we're booking some tickets for an unrelated trip here shortly to Chicago, and they're still very expensive. So flying to Las Vegas isn't cheap, and then staying there also is not cheap. And then I don't know. It's very interesting, and I'm also still on the fence about it because I know that they have some talent confirmed for it, but I also would not be surprised. I mean, they can drop out whenever they want to. I mean, and cite safety issues, and they can get into all that. And I also don't want to spend all that money and risk going there, and then you've got nobody interesting there to talk to, if that makes sense. Like nothing, we're just going to get
big
nothing.
Names is what a lot. I like, not being rude. A lot of people go for the big names, so like Kate Mulgrew, etc.
Right.
So if they're not turning up, I think Kate Mulgrew herself has already said she's not doing any conventions this year. And some websites are still advertising her, so it's like, I'm pretty
I mean, like Sir Patrick's not going to be there.
No, he's definitely not
The only
there.
reason I wanted to, I was hoping that Sir Patrick was going to be there, but he's not going to go. He's in
probably
his
not
80s.
going to be allowed to go.
Right. They're probably like,
Yes.
yeah, Sir Patrick, you can't do that. It's
FPS, you
cheating.
can't.
Read a couple
You
more
can't
of
do
these
it.
books, you'll be fine. Yeah. I would watch a live thing of him doing that. If he could do it live, that'd be great.
Oh, that'd be great.
So yeah, if you want to keep updated on Star Trek Las Vegas, we'll keep you updated via our account as well if anything official comes along. However, please do keep in mind there is a liability waiver. Essentially, it means you can't get your money back if somehow you catch it or it's present there. So go read that is on the website. If you are thinking of going, read it and use your own judgment. I'm not going to tell you to do it, and this is no disrespect to creation whatsoever, and we're not trying to throw them under the bus or call them out. Essentially is just keeping Star Trek fans in the know. And as a community, it's what we need to do to keep each other safe during these pressing times. At the end of the day, everyone staying safe helps everyone. Wear a mask, by the way. It's law in some places. Anyway, right, to end off the stream, I think we've covered everything today, and I'm not forgetting anything. Nick, are we forgetting anything? I don't think so.
Nope, not that I can think of. No.
Pretty good today. All right, everyone, we're getting off the stream here. We've chatted about Prodigy, Lower Decks, Comic-Con, and everything else for today. However, next week we'll be back, or some of us will be back, I think it's Brie next week, with a special guest discussing the upcoming Lower Decks series. As of that point, it'll only be a couple of days away until the launch of it. Wow, we've got a new Star Trek series in less than 2 weeks. Christ, we need to get our ass in gear and do some stuff. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks. And then myself, Nick, and probably Dom maybe for the first week, and maybe some special guests will be back on August 9th to review and discuss the first episode. Our review will of course be live, but we enjoy having the live discussions where we can chat about things more freely and also get you guys engaged as well. I'm excited for the first episode. I hope you are as well. Remember, if you do want to keep up to date and you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, follow us on social media, and we will of course catch you very soon. Dom, Nick, thank you for joining me today. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And gentlemen, thank you for watching the stream, and ladies, of course, and other Star Trek species. We'll, of course, catch you very soon. Goodbye.